Hello and welcome to my channel. Have you ever wondered about visiting Bulgaria? Today I'm going to share with you about the two towns that I visited in Bulgaria on my big retirement trip. This is the second country on my retirement trip. I started off in Romania and I have 3 videos from Romania. If you haven't seen those, then after this video, please go back and watch that because it was really cool and I think you would enjoy seeing Romania. So this trip starts off with a crazy 7-hour train ride from Bucharest, Romania, to Veliko, Tarnovo, Bulgaria. So I've ridden lots of trains all over Europe, so I wasn't apprehensive at all about booking a train, even though it was a 7-hour ride to Bulgaria. So I booked the train, and when I got there, I was very surprised by what I saw. So the train gives you 1970s, maybe Soviet Union vibes, that Soviet era. It was a really, really old train, old train with iffy air conditioning and lots of backpackers on their way to Turkey. So when I got on board, I realized right away that my conductor did not speak English. In fact, I think the only 2 words that he knew in English were out and passport. So during this 7-hour ride, we had 2 smoke breaks and a border crossing. So the first time that the train stopped, I had some young boy, probably early 20s, and a couple. They were both from parts of Europe and spoke perfect English. So even though they were a lot younger than me, I really enjoyed talking to them. But when we got to the first stop, we were all just sitting there, chatting. The conductor came by and said, "Out." We're like, okay. We didn't know why, but we got out. So we got out and stood on there was grass and some sidewalks. There was a restroom, and we realized pretty quickly, I guess it was a smoke break. So the conductor came and got us when it was time to get back on, and we got back on the train. And then we went to the next stop, same thing. Out. Okay, we're out. We'd stay there for a while, I'm talking 30, 40 minutes or so, and then we get back on the train and continue to the next stop, which was the border crossing. Well, before we got to the border crossing, the conductor came by and said, "Passport." We had all give him our passports. So he was taking up all the passports. I guess when we stopped at the border crossing, they stamped all the passports, and then he brought them all back to us, and we got back on the train and rode again. Of course, when it got time for my stop, I didn't realize it was my stop, but the conductor all of a sudden comes by and he's motioning, "Come on, come on." And he grabs my wheeling suitcase. He points to which one is mine, and I say, "Yeah, that's that one." And he's rolling that out to the door. So I guess I was there. So anyway, I said a quick goodbye to my new friends and jumped off. I was at my stop. So when I got there, I had researched ahead of time, and I realized that it was only like a 15-minute walk to my hotel. So I decided to go ahead and walk it with my suitcase. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it was a little ways, but not bad. So my hotel in Veliko, Tarnovo, was called the Guest House Diaboro. It was a small, it really was like a guest house. It was a small hotel, but it had a person at the desk. They had an actual desk, and she sat there, and that was your check-in person. They were only there during the day. They weren't there in the evening. But it was a really nice place to stay. I stayed there for 3 nights. It was only $70 a night, which included breakfast. And they could wash my clothes for $5 for a big old bag of clothes. So they washed, dried, and folded. It took a couple of days because they line dry everything. They don't, I guess they don't have dryers, I'm not sure, but they didn't dry any of my things, but they washed them all. They were fresh smelling. I was glad to get it done for that cheap. I got my hotel through booking.com. So for my whole trip, I believe I got all my accommodation, booking.com. So anyway, after I took my bags, it was been a really long day, so I came downstairs and asked where I should go eat, and she gave me some different choices. One was just right across the street from where I was staying, because I was in the main part of town, so it was a really great location. And so I decided the shortest walking distance was the best. So I walked across the street, and this really cute little restaurant had balconies that you could sit out on, overlooking the town, like the hills. It was really, really pretty. So I enjoyed that, and I had a shopska salad, which I'll try to put a picture in for you to see what that is. Really super fresh ingredients. I was wanting to try that salad anyway, so I was really glad to get that. So I went back to my hotel to take a shower and cool off. Thank goodness we had air conditioning. That's one thing when you go to some countries, or I would say all countries in Europe, make sure if you're going during a hot time period that you definitely check to make sure that your hotel has air conditioning for sure, and a private bathroom if that's what you want to do. So, which I did. So anyway, nice place. The next day, I had a beautiful breakfast plate that was pre-plated, but it was really good. It had a boiled egg, fresh cherries, meats and cheeses, homemade bread, I think it was even more than one choice of breads, coffee and juice. It was all really fresh and really good, so I enjoyed that. So Veliko, Tarnovo is a fairly small town, has lots of hills and stairs and narrow alleys, but they have a lot of cool older buildings and pretty monuments. While I was there, I walked around a lot. I toured the Sarah Finca, I think I probably messed that all up, house from 1861. It shows a lifestyle in the 19th century. And I'd done some research ahead of time and found out that they had an old bazaar, and they had lots of craftspeople in there that made all kinds of knives and different kinds of pottery and woodworking and that kind of thing. It was really neat. So I decided that I wanted to go and look at all that, so I did, and I saw in my research that they had a place that had Turkish coffee. So I definitely wanted to try that because I've never had Turkish coffee before then. So there was very little English that was spoken there, so I did use my translator app a lot, but I found the place with the Turkish coffee, and it had like a little bakery inside. And the lady that made my coffee, she made it over hot sand, and the coffee was wonderful. It had a really rich, almost chocolate flavor to it. Had a cookie with it too. So for my cookie and my coffee, it was only $3, which was perfect. So I definitely enjoyed that. I went back to the little restaurant for dinner that night across the street from my hotel, and I had pizza and beer, and I think I had maybe crepes. I can't remember. It might have just been pizza and beer. But anyway, it was an awesome view, and I loved sitting there and eating, and the food was really good. So the next day, I had another great breakfast. The only difference in the breakfast was that I had fresh apricots instead of fresh cherries this time. It's really hot. I'm in mid-June, so it's like 90. So I'm finding that I'm touring in the mornings and in the afternoons because the middle of the day is just so hot that I'm going back to my hotel just to sit in the air conditioning during the hottest part of the day. But anyway, I walked around and I saw the Teravet Fortress. I'll try to put my itinerary in the description box so you can see where I was. It was from 1185. I saw some Ottoman houses on the hill and pictures of the town. So I also went to see the Virgin Mary Cathedral from 1842, and they didn't allow any inside pictures, but they had lovely frescoes, so I enjoyed seeing that, and a beautiful exterior. So I also went back to the bakery for another Turkish coffee since it was so good the day before. I tried a different cookie, this time one with dried apples inside. It was really good. So I sat outside the bakery on these little tables. It was like really short tables with little bitty stools. It was a really cool place to people watch, so I enjoyed sitting there. For dinner that night, I decided to try a new restaurant and had grilled veggies and bread, and oh, that's where I had the crepes. I knew I had crepes somewhere. Anyway, they were really good. So the next day, I was changing locations. I was going to Sofia, Bulgaria, and it's like a 3-hour bus ride. So I stayed there for 4 nights, and Sofia is a big city, and the prices reflect that. It was $110 a night. I stayed at the Eurostars Sofia city. It was a modern high-rise right in the middle of the city, which was good because I enjoy staying where I can just walk around and see what I want to see in the touristy areas. Even though it's a little bit more expensive, it's easier walking around and seeing things that way, to me anyway. So I went ahead and took a free walking tour. When they have free walking tours, they have them in most European cities. And it really isn't free because you do tip when you're finished. So make sure before you go that you check what is a good tip in the area that you're traveling to, so you know what you should tip on your walking tour. But anyway, I saw lots of different things, and the guide was really good. Saw the Palace of Justice, some cable cars, Nedelia Church from the 10th century. Nedelia Church, Saint Nedelia Church, I'll get it right in a minute, and then a 10th century monastery, mosque, 10th century mosque, not monastery, and then the Regional History Museum. They even had these fountains with the hot springs that people would go and drink the hot springs. I think it's good for your health. You know, I've heard that a lot, but it's so hot outside, I just couldn't picture drinking any hot water. So I definitely had to pass on the hot springs. Then I saw a guarded building where the president works, a 4th century church, the National Theater of Bulgaria, and a very unimpressive building. It was a yellow building, and it was a former royal palace, but it was not impressive at all. You'd think palace, it's going to be something really interesting. You got all these cool buildings, beautiful places, things to see, and the palace is really not impressive at all. I didn't go inside, just saw it from the exterior. So maybe the inside was better than the outside. Well, I don't know about that. But anyway, then I did see a very impressive Cathedral of St. Alexander Nevsky from 1912. Beautiful, very impressive. Lots of detail. Even the outside had lots of details on it, but even the doors were really impressive. They didn't allow any pictures inside, but I did take one by mistake. So if I can, I'll try to share that. And so you can see what it looked like, because it was beautiful inside. I mean, really pretty inside. Then I took a picture of a lion statue, because the lion is the symbol of Bulgaria. Then I went to St. Sophia, which is a 6th century church. Again, no inside pictures, but really interesting to see. Then the next day, Sophia had a huge breakfast at this hotel. I mean, huge. There were like 5 or 6 different tables full of food. One table had all kinds of breads and sweets. Another table had juices and yogurt and cereal. And another one had meats and cheeses. And another one had hot dishes and vegetables and eggs and all kinds of meats and things that you might want to eat. And then they had another table that had fresh honeycomb and honey. It was really, really good and impressive. I definitely enjoyed the breakfast there each day, which was included in my hotel rate, thank goodness. But anyway, the next day I decided to do a full day tour. It was an 8-hour tour to see the Boyana Church from the 10th century and the Rila Monastery, which was also 10th century. So I booked my tour through Get Your Guide. I think it was like $35, which really just included your guide that spoke English and your transportation to get there. It's like a 2-hour ride from Sofia. So transportation in this area, even though they have taxis, with them not speaking a lot of English, it was just easier for me to book a tour to get to this place. Really what I wanted to see was the Rila Monastery. It was a bonus that I got to see the Boyana Church also. Anyway, so the first thing we saw was the Boyana Church, 10th century. It was enlarged in the 13th century and the 19th centuries. It had a really short doorway that you had to duck to get in. I had lots of beautiful frescoes inside. No pictures, of course. I'm sorry about that. But the frescoes inside were from the 1200s, 1259, I believe. Then we went on to the Rila Monastery, which, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how pretty it was. Beautiful monastery. It was I think it was only $4 to get inside. The Boya Church was $6 to get in. The Rila Monastery was $4 to get in. They had a fire, and so they had to rebuild it in the 1800s. But I'm telling you, this place was beautiful. The entrance and the exterior were magnificent. They had numerous frescoes, lots of Bible stories. I'll try to put some pictures in so you can see it. I love this so much. You definitely should visit this if you get a chance. Very beautiful. The hardest part was getting there, but thank goodness I took that day tour. Even though it was a long day, it was definitely worth it to get to go see this. They had a bakery outside the monastery that had the famous Makinsky cakes, which were like donuts, funnel cakes, tasted like funnel cakes with powdered sugar. Really good. Of course, I had to try it. And it was good, but that's what it tasted like. It was funnel cakes. So anyway, my last day in Sofia, I visited the St. Nicholas Russian Orthodox Church from the 1914. It was a beautiful church, and the exterior definitely reminded you of pictures from Russia. So definitely really pretty. No inside pics again, but I did stay and hear the nuns practicing the music, and I could hear them from the outside of the church, and it was just beautiful. So I'm glad I got to hear that. Then I passed a beautiful fountain, a pedestrian street with all kinds of different shops and cafes, and I had a really hard time deciding where I wanted to stop for an iced coffee and dessert, which was lunch, of course. But I did stop and had a wonderful coffee and dessert for lunch. So, my final thoughts on Bulgaria. Beautiful. Bulgaria is beautiful. They don't have a lot of people visiting there, or I didn't see a lot of Americans for sure. But it's really beautiful. They have lots of beautiful churches and other things to see. It's inexpensive if you compare it to Western Europe. It's really inexpensive. The people are really friendly. You definitely can't be intimidated by the language. If you find young people, most likely they're going to be able to speak English, but there isn't a lot of English spoken, so don't let that stop you from going, because Bulgaria is an awesome place to see. So I hope you go. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my time in Bulgaria. Please like and subscribe and come back next time as I go to my third country of North Macedonia. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.